Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the probably my favourite tier 10 tank destroyer in the game. Of course, the FV4005. We're going to be running through some gameplay and how you can actually use this tank to the best of your ability and therefore see how devastating this tank can be in some live gameplay. And of course we'll run through the equipment real quick here in the video. We're going with improved ventilation, we're going with advanced loader and advanced reload, so we can use the HESH rounds, the AP rounds and also the HE rounds sometimes within this vehicle. Consumables, large everything and enhanced combat rations. We're loading primarily HESH rounds along with some HE and some AP, and of course we're running the commander with pretty much all of the accuracy perks and rapid loading and stuff like that. It's kind of my light tank crew that I've just stuck on here, but yeah, nothing really too major there. Let's jump into the gameplay and I'll catch you there. Now then, our first gameplay is here on Highway, and this is of course one of my more favoured maps. I guess it's okay for the FV4005 and potentially we'll be able to get some damage as people cross towards the cap circle, which is of course one of the key areas that you need to remember on this map, especially because most people will YOLO across the field not realising that actually there's a cap circle and then you end up losing to cap, which is probably one of the worst things that can happen in World of Tanks, and you definitely feel a little bit hard done by, and yeah, not particularly one of the nicest things. Now you'll note that this tank is one of those that could be very difficult to play in some scenarios. It's one of the ones that is definitely it doesn't feel as good as it used to be. It just doesn't have the same level of pack-a-punch. However, it can still pack-a-punch, if that makes sense. You can still have fantastic games in this thing, even though like it might not be able to do the 800 and 1850 damage that it once did within World of Tanks. And of course that is kind of why a lot of people don't play this tank anywhere near as much as they used to, and you're about to find out why this tank is so much fun. And that's because you can do that, removing pretty much all of the hit points of the TNH 105 1000 there. And when you're playing up against tier 8s in this thing, it genuinely feels just a little bit unfair, and I guess that most people would love to be in an unfair matchup when you're the one being kind of the unfair advantage or whatever the case may be. Now then, one of my favoured kind of areas to come up against, or favoured tanks, is of course lightly armoured tanks, because when you have HESH rounds or you have HE rounds and you're primarily focusing on those, then yeah, of course the lightly armoured vehicles are the ones to go for. Now one thing that you definitely don't want to come up against is a Type 5 heavy that's side on. Now what we could have done there is actually swapped to the AP rounds and therefore been able to pen. Now we didn't actually do that in this replay, and therefore we don't manage to get the damage that maybe we could have done. However, the Type 5 being permanently trapped out in the open is something that we love to see, albeit he's taken out now, so yeah, a little bit annoying, but nonetheless we will deal with it. And of course the Chisel is now coming around the corner and unfortunately don't manage to actually connect the shot. Now I guess that's kind of the disadvantage of having this big ogre of a gun and the 183mm that this actually has, and it's because you don't always pen, and when you don't pen you've got a fairly meaty reload, which means that you're kind of sat there twiddling your thumbs whilst hoping that no one else can hit you, and therefore yeah, it can be a little bit tedious. However, for the most part you play this tank not to necessarily have those superb damage replays, which you can definitely do in the FV4005, and something that I definitely want to highlight to you guys, but it's one of those that you just play to have fun. And now World of Tanks is not necessarily a game that I would necessarily say is an amazing game to have like all out fun where you're just absolutely crying with laughter, but the FV4005 definitely does that for me. And when you have the pen that you do with this tank, you can definitely be able to come out on top as we pick up a nice shell into the Chieftain there. Now we're just progressing on an E100. Hopefully we can kind of get behind him. We've still got 10 seconds on the reload, and because this tank actually has like a 20-second reload, you can kind of preemptively get into a nice position. And we will swap to a HE round here, or at least a HESH round, and we'll go for the back, albeit we didn't really need to do that. Now the Bat Chat is kind of coming in thinking he's funny, and of course Hopefully we do manage to bounce around, which we do successfully do, and now he's completely out. That means he's definitely in a bit of a terrible position. Hopefully we'll be able to get a nice shot into him, albeit he is just running away now, which is a little bit annoying, but nonetheless, hopefully we can get a shot into the AMX's side on, which we do. 1292 damage done, which is of course exactly what you want in this tank. Now, we are on a pretty meaty reload. We've also got a broken turret. We've been absolutely farmed by said backchat there. But that doesn't really matter. We can reload, we can deal with it, and hopefully we'll be able to actually deal with the damage to this backchat and get a little bit of revenge potentially for the full remainder of his hit points, maybe. Obviously we have to be a little bit lucky with the accuracy of the tank. And talking about the accuracy of the tank, when you've got a broken gun, it's not particularly very good, but we don't really care. We're only in it for the kind of YOLO shots anyway. We're only in it for those shots that you feel like you've just completely annihilated the opponents. Now you see the backchat, is he going to be there? He doesn't manage to, which is unfortunate, but nonetheless, you can see how easy it is to pick up damage. Like, you don't have to be particularly very good in this tank. You can have so much fun, especially if you're playing in a platoon. Not that you have to play in a platoon in the FE 4005 to have a good game. It's more of a case of, yeah, if you play in a platoon and you're messing about whilst also maintaining kind of a decent win rate and also being able to just farm people with pretty much all their hit points, then of course it's going to be fun. And that's exactly what we like doing in the FE 4005, and why on World of Tanks PC I'm currently on my way to getting the tank, which means that we can kind of showcase exactly what the 1850 Alpha is actually like when it was kind of unnerfed on console, because it's been a while since we've been able to use the 1850 Alpha that the console once had, and so showcasing it maybe on PC would be a good idea of seeing how broken it used to be. Albeit that the PC version actually has a reduced amount of pen, which is kind of the better, I don't know that it's the better way to go, but you know, there we go. It's not particularly a bad result in the FE 4005, 4,500 damage. You're probably not going to be going down all too much in your marks of excellence if that's what you're interested in. You can see we've got 3 marks in this thing. Whether or not we are actually maintaining that, no we're not, we're at 88%, probably because I was firing HE in a few games when we tested it out on stream, but nonetheless we'll jump into one final replay because, you know, 4,500 damage is not the replay that we really want to showcase how powerful this thing is, but I feel like I want to get your opinions on what you think about various different tier 10s, and we're going to be doing more of these live replays where not only am I cherry picking some of the replays, but I also want to showcase, you know, what happens, my thought process as we go through, and of course if you're trying to learn the game, then maybe that will help you, and hopefully that will. Now then guys, we are on Pearl River, and we're going to be testing out what the FE 4000 can do in a kind of more aggressive style, I guess, since we want to play it a bit more aggressively comparatively to a lot of the other tanks that you'll be seeing, I guess, as a TD at tier 10. Now then, why can we play this thing as an aggressive TD? Well, it's because you have stupidly high penetration with your AP rounds, which means that pretty much no one is actually going to be able to bounce around from you, and you can also punish them super hard. It's like playing a mobile Jaeger, I guess, is kind of the nearest kind of option or nearest kind of tank that I guess I could kind of suggest to you guys as this sort of tank. Now, what you see me doing here, hugging the ridge to close as we go up, because we want to get up there without taking a single hit point worth of damage, which we do manage to do. The enemies are now moving down, we've got a King Dragon, and what we're going to do is just play a little bit safe, because we don't want to do anything stupid. We're just going to now kind of assess the options as to what we can do, and I think one thing that I do want to do in this replay is kind of come into this position over here where my pointer is, and then we can kind of look down on them, get a shot off hopefully without taking any. And even if we do take a shot in this tank, it's never really that bad. So yeah, we can kind of go in and hopefully this Valor will let me have the spot to be able to get a shot off into this guy, which is of course the King Lurva, which we actually swapped to a Hesh round to pen him, and we of course, as you know you do, set him on fire for a decent chunky amount of hit points. Now we're going to kind of move back because we know that people can hit us from this hill area over here, because this big open space over here, and of course when you're spotted they can do whatever they like with you really from that position. Now there's a 279E, which is a little bit of a rat to come up against for the most part, but we don't really need to look over this side anymore. Maybe we should focus our efforts onto the other side. Now there are plenty of tier 8s in this game, so we're kind of one of the top tier boys within this replay, so we've got to play like it. And so what we're going to do is hopefully get a quick shot off into the Vanguard, which we do actually miss, but we still actually deal damage to him, because, you know, that's exactly how these high alpha TDs should work, missing and still doing damage. There we go, lovely. But in this replay, how much have we done? Well, we've done 2,000 damage, and we've only literally hit one shot pretty much within this replay. We've got now a Legion who is pushing up. We've got this kind of tank who's not really in the nicest of spots for us to be able to hit, which is a bit unfortunate. Now this kind of tank over here, can we hit him? Yes, we can. We don't even need to pen to be able to deal nearly 600 damage, and that is why I think the FE is actually pretty dangerous in a lot of scenarios, is that you don't even need to pen some of these tanks to be able to deal a lot of damage. Now I'm going to load an AP round, and we can do this very easily with this tank because we can kind of swap between the rounds for free. It doesn't cost us actually reloading our tank, therefore we can do it pretty easily. We only track the batch at 1225T there, which is very unfortunate. We'll now load an AP round to hopefully go after this other tank who is going to be coming up, which is of course the not the King Dragon, but the tier 1 or whatever it is that was kind of spotted down there. This tank right here has been a pain in the ass getting in the way, the IS-7 here, with pretty much all of the games that we've played so far. So let's try and push out some more damage before this game ends. Of course, when you've done like about 3,000 damage total, it's not necessarily a bad game, but you definitely, when you're playing in a tank like this, want to get more. There is so much more you can get with a tank like the FV4005. Getting 4k damage is a very easy result for the most part, albeit, you know, sometimes you can have those results where you feel like you've been punished a little bit too hard, but yeah, for me personally, I think, you know, when you start bridging about 5k damage, you know you've had an okay result, and you can pretty much feel like confident that you've had a decent game. Now, we have of course got an FV4005 or an FV215B183, the armoured version of this tank still left alive on the enemy team, so we want to be very careful that he doesn't manage to get some shots onto us, because yeah, it's a pretty dangerous tank to come up against, hence why you've seen in this replay the amount of damage that we've been able to do. Now the Batchat 25T AP is actually over there. He's managed to get a couple shots into us, but not really too much of a worry. We do have to be careful with this crack right next to us as the game lags out, because, you know, typical. But there we go, never mind. The FV4005 is actually out in the open, or the FV215B183. So we could potentially poke around this corner and go for the damage, which I think we will do, albeit we might even go for this this tank right here. We've got the back of him. Hopefully, well, we don't need to pen now, but never mind. We'll go after him anyway. Now the FV4000 or FV215B183, not the FV4005. They might be pushing from this direction here, which is of course something that you definitely don't want to just suddenly poke you. Now he is actually over there, but we'll go after this little pesky light tank that's been badgering us for the whole game, and maybe we'll be able to get out from behind the FV to be able to get a bit of damage as well. Now I'm kind of interested in just getting this guy. I'm not interested in the light tank. I want the damage, and that's exactly what the FV4005 actually does within World of Tanks. It's all about getting that damage result, and especially when you're coming up behind the tanks that you'll be penning, like the FV215B183, which is of course a tank that I will be reviewing fairly soon as we kind of go through and evaluate all of these tier 10s, which I think is the next kind of series of videos that we'll be doing. We'll be playing live, and I'm going to showcase exactly the kind of games that I have, because yes, I've cherry picked many a game on YouTube. I don't always have games that you'd be seeing every single time where, you know, I'm able to do 10k damage, or where I'm able to do the amount of damage that we typically do here on the channel. Now there is, of course, this light tank, the Vanguard, who's now moving up, and we missed the shot because, you know, probably talking and getting a little bit too involved, but there we go. Nevertheless, maybe we could ram him, which obviously we can't, and we're going to be going now and hunting down this final light tank, which is of course that Batchat 12T. Now then, 4,300 damage, pretty much, or 4,258 if you want to be exact, because I know there'll probably be someone there that's moaning about the fact that I round up or whatever. But yeah, from this sort of scenario, we are definitely hopefully damage, which we do manage to do on the Batchat 12T, and secure the final damaging hit, which is exactly what you want in this tank. So just under 5,500 damage done in this tank, well, 5,200, 268 assistance, and showcasing why this tank is potentially a very, very good one, and why you should never underestimate the FV4005, and why it is one of my favourite tier 10 tank destroyers. Thank you very much for watching, and of course if you want to check out or actually leave a comment as to what you want to watch next in this tier 10 series, where we review all of the tier 10s in the game in the next upcoming video, so leave those in the comment section down below what you want to see. Of course I will actually have to have the tank to be able to review it, so there's kind of that. So yeah, just leave them in the comment section down below, and of course if you want to check out other gameplay and tank reviews of the latest tanks in World of Tanks being released, then check out the right hand side, and of course the left hand side will be a tier 10 replay from previously in the FV4005. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you there. Goodbye.